Alright, so I'm going to make a video here today about this Fronius Transsteel 2200. The reason why I'm going to make this video is I was doing some research on welders, and a lot of people that get these Fronius machines, for some reason, I'm assuming they're probably older and have only ever used, the welders with the two knobs. It sets your wire feed and voltage, and that's all they really know about MIG welders. And I've seen online on like different welding forums and stuff, people saying they don't really, Fronius doesn't really put out too much information on how to use these things. And I mean, that's not really entirely true. They do put out information. It's just you have to search for it. One of their sales reps has a YouTube channel. I think his channel name now is Crispy Living, and he made a few videos about these. But I'm going to make my own, I guess. Never mind all the clutter here. We're talking about this. Right now it's powered on, but when you get it, it's not going to be assembled. Well, it'll be assembled, but you'll have to plug in all your wires and stuff. So I'll show you what I have going on here. This one here is the MIG gun. That goes in right here. There's really only one spot that it can go. And then, unlike the Lincolns, you don't have a wire coming off of your MIG gun going into like a control box. It's got stuff around this outer layer that plugs into different little prongs in there. So you don't have a separate wire when you connect your Fronius MIG gun. And then this one here is my ground cable. Right now, that is in the middle spot, which should be the negative spot. And then this wire here is the positive, which goes to the wire feeder. When you set this up for stick welding, all you got to do is undo your wire feeder and plug in your stick. The stinger. Keep in mind, pay attention to which side your ground is on. If you were running TIG, the ground goes over here and your TIG torch goes in here. But we'll talk about that in a second. Also, if you're running self-shielded flux core, you want to put your ground over here and your wire feeder in this hole. I'm running a solid wire right now, so that's why I'm set up the way I am here. If you're running self-shielded flux core, you don't have to worry about gas, but I'm running a gas shielded wire, so I'll show you what I have going on with that. I have the regulator that Fronius got. I screwed it into my 7525, and then to set that, you open up your bottle, hit this little purge button right here, and then you'll see a ball come up to the, I have mine set at 35 psi or cubic feet per minute per hour or whatever. So then you hit your button again and it shuts off. It's also, the line comes into the back of the machine and it's screwed into the MIG terminal. There's a MIG terminal and then there's also a TIG terminal. The reason for that is the MIG, whatever gas is coming through your MIG terminal comes out of a line inside of this here. Even if you're running straight argon through your TIG terminal, to run an aluminum wire, the solenoid is going to open in the MIG side. So if you have a 75-25 and then also have a 100% argon hooked up, it's going to draw from your whatever's plugged into the MIG terminal, because the TIG gas would come out of a hole inside of this DINS connector. So pay attention to what gases you're using and what they're plugged into. So now we'll zoom in on the machine. The power switch is on the back. My power cord is 4 years old now, and it's kind of getting a little bit iffy, so I'm not going to disconnect it right now, but it's not hard to connect it. So we'll zoom in so you can see the front of this machine here. Get you set up there. Alright, so I have it powered on. There's different settings. This button right here switches between your modes. So when it says synergic, that means it's like a smart MIG setup. Stick, you have control of your amps, and there's different things you can do. Like that's your arc force when it's got the squiggly lines. And then, yeah, that's all you pretty much control for the basic side of stick. TIG, same deal. There's more settings in the background. I'll show you them in a second. Then you got your manual MIG. When you have it set to amps, it's going to say 0 there because it doesn't know how many amps you're running. So you set it for wire feed, and then you can change your wire feed to whatever you want it. We'll go with 280, and then you change your volts to whatever you want it. Just like the older machines. So we'll go with 19.5, and that's pretty much it. You also have, I believe that's your inductance or arc force. You can change that all the way up to 10, and then all the way down to 0. I believe I had this set at 3, so we'll leave it at that. And that's pretty much all you have control over for your current in the manual mode. You also have a background settings. If you hit these two buttons together, it goes into this menu, and this is your pre-flow, which means your gas will start coming out of the gun before the wire starts feeding, and this is in seconds. So the gas will flow for a half second before the wire feeds. Then when you turn this dial, you see this one, that's post-flow. That means your gas will come out for a second and a half after you let off the trigger. And you have this one. I actually don't even know what this does. Another one that I don't know what it does. Another one. What does this do? I forget what a lot of this stuff does. And then the one that says second, you can hit these again. And now you have where it says set US. You have US or standard, symmetric, or American. And then you have a bunch of stuff that I don't fully understand on this one. They do have like a printout when you buy this of what all this stuff does, but a lot of the fancy stuff I don't fully understand because I never use it. But just because I don't understand it doesn't mean that you can't use the machine. So now we're back to the beginning here. We're still in manual mode. If you go to synergic mode, you hit that. Now you're in smart mode. You have all your wires here, and then your wire size is here, and your gas is here. All you do is hit this button here to select your wire. Right now I'm running ER70S6, so you want it set for that. If you were running aluminum, you have two different options. This is your 50 series wire, and this is your 40 series wire. Then you have gas shielded flux core, metal cord, self-shielded flux core, which is the stuff you can buy at the Tractor Supply or the Home Depot or whatever. And then you have, up here you have stainless, and I actually forget what this other one is. But we're going to go with our ER70S6. This is your trigger control right here. Right now, where it says 2T, it's just like a normal MIG gun. When you set it in 4T, when you squeeze the trigger, here I'll show you. In 4T, when you squeeze this, it will keep coming out. The wire will keep running until you pull that trigger again. That's 4T. It's good for longer welds and stuff. And then this is like a stepped trigger. I never use that. Some people probably do on TIG, but I don't ever use it. And then you have a spot mode, which is kind of cool if you're doing a lot of like how a lot of people weld furniture. When you watch them build furniture, they weld for like a second or two and then shut it off for a second or two, weld for a second or two and then shut it off for a second or so. That's pretty much what you're doing right here. You just pull the trigger and the gun automatically does the spot timer thing. You can change how that is set by going into here. And when it says SPT and SPB, I believe this SPT is how long you want the arc on, and SPB is how long the arc is off. So the way it's set now, it will run for 1.9 seconds and then shut off for 0.7 seconds. But your gas is always flowing. So we'll get out of this menu, and then you select your wire size. We're running 035. It has some different settings here. For 040, which isn't common in America, 045, 023, 030, and 035. This is the smaller machine, so it's not going to have all the combinations of everything. I know for self-shielded flux core wire, it does not have 030 settings. You have to figure that out yourself. I don't think it has 035 flux core settings either. Actually it does. Alright. For some reason I thought it did not. But anyway, then over here you got your gas selection. We're running 7525. You have a selection for 100% argon, 100% CO2, and then argon that has like 2 to 5% CO2 mixed into it for stainless. And then when you're in synergic mode, you also have this little thing here to select your plate thickness by 100,000ths or 1,000th of an inch. But for 035 MIG, for some reason that is jacked up in the 035 MIG menu. And then you can also select your amps in synergic mode. So if we wanted to run at 153 amps, it's going to adjust the settings to meet the amp requirement in synergic mode. See how I just adjusted everything? So we're at 350 and 20.7. I'm going to change our amps back down to 129, and now we're back down to it lowered our settings. So I normally just select the wire feed speed and just go with it. It has your volts here, and then the little squiggly line, I believe, is your inductance or arc force or whatever you want to call it, where it's going to make the bead really soft and wide or narrow and crispy, I think. I never play around with it. I always leave it at 0. But you can play around with it if you want. And then you have a selection here for your stick out. Mine is set at 4, which means I hold a slightly longer arc, so it gives me more voltage. If you change this, you can go down to -30, which would mean you're pretty much touching the plate, and it gives you a voltage of 12.5. And then you go all the way up to +30, and it's going to give you 23.3 volts for the same wire feed. But like I said, I usually leave mine around 4. But that's all going to be personal preference for you. So now we're set up. I think I went over pretty much all the menu. This button here is also your jog button, which means your wire is going to come out without turning your welder on. Well, the welder has to be on, but it's not going to give it current. And then you also have your purge button here, which is going to allow the gas to come out without the wire coming out. So now that it's set up, I'll turn you guys over here. We're just going to run some test welds here. I don't have enough camera skills to give you any arc shots. I'll do what I can here. Alright, so we're in MIG mode, 240 inches a minute. Alright, and it welded. It's kind of cold, so I'm going to go ahead and turn up the amps a bit. So now we're going to be running 285 inches a minute. That was a lot better. But then you can still go up even higher. On this one, in synergic mode, you can go as high as 465. So that's kind of cool. And then see how many amps that is. It claims that's around 178 amps. The most it will let you set the amps is 201. Let's go ahead and try that. So it moves the amps around a little bit. I think it's how you move your gun. I'm going to try holding it real close and see what happens. Shut off on us for some reason. Like I said, my power cord's kind of jacked up. Alright, it took some finagling, but I got it working again for now. So yeah, we ran some MIG welds there. Ran some extremes. I'll go into the manual mode and I'll show you what it can really do. It's actually pretty cool. We're just gonna go max and max. 725 inches a minute and 45 volts. And just kind of see what happens with it. I gotta cut my wire off. So this is turned up extremely high. We'll just see what happens. Alright, so you can see it changed the volts a little bit, but it ran that freaking dang near smooth. That's pretty crazy. I'll show you what that looks like here. So the last little bit here, that's what I did with it on max and max. That was actually pretty cool. It ran it really smooth actually. And when you're welding thicker stuff with MIG, I mean that's kind of what you got to do, is just turn it up pretty severely. I don't know if that was a spray, but it was, I mean, it had a lot of amps in there. So that's MIG. That's what this thing can do on MIG. Well, I guess I'll show you the spot timer. We'll go back here just so you can see what the spot timer thing is. Yeah, I'll go back into synergic mode. Around 280. And we're in spot mode now. So what I'm going to do is just hold the trigger and you guys can see what it does. so that's what spot timer does. I never let go of the trigger. It's very useful for a thin material, stuff that you blow through pretty easy, because you can time it to pretty much like when you're on your top of your top plate, you squeeze the trigger, the wire comes out, you weave down to your bottom and go back up to your top, and then it shuts off. It's timing your weave and timing your machine. You can actually use that spot timer and be really, really efficient and do some pretty wicked stuff with this. But that's MIG. MIG is pretty easy. So I'll show you how the stick mode works. And that's pretty easy as well. You just hit that button, pull out your connector that goes into the wire feeder, and then you get your lead for your stick, your stinger. And this is not the stinger it came with. This is an ESOB one. Just plug that in there. Set your amps. You also have a menu here. I'll get you guys zoomed in here. I'll show you this other menu. Same thing. So HCU, HT1. This is anti-stick. The way these things work here, HCU and HT1, is something about, this is the hot start. So we're running 138% for the hot start. And then this one here is how far away you can pull up, like how far you can lengthen your arc length before it shuts off on you. I think the greater the number, the higher, the longer your arc can be. And then, like I said, the hot start, for about a half second, I think it is, it will run. If we're running at 100 amps set on our machine, it will run at 138 amps for a half second. If we're set at 200 amps, it's going to run, what would that be, like 270 some, 276, if it could go that high. I don't think this one will. But that's, it's a percentage. 138% of your set amperage is for your hot start. So pretty simple. Now we're back to that. We're running 90 amps. I'm gonna get a 7018 and we'll strike her up. All right, so I have some different size 7018s. We're gonna run a 332nd at 90 amps. I'm not gonna run the whole electrode. The anti-stick, what the anti-stick does is if you stick this, wait 2 seconds, and then break it free. It gives you just enough power to break this free without lighting your arc. So it runs that pretty smooth. Like I said, this is just a regular 332nd 7018 H4R, if that matters to you. And we're going to turn turn her up here a bit. It goes all the way up to 194 amps. At least the way my hot start is set. That's the way it's letting me go. So we'll run 179 amps. This is a 5/32 7018. Some people think this is a bit big for this machine, but it will run it. So that's our 5/32 7018. Most people don't run electrodes that big, but I do. I've ran boxes of those with this machine, and it runs it just fine. I'll zoom you in there so you can see that. So as you can see, that's our 5/32 weld, and it ran it just fine. That's 3/32, and the rest is MIG. And then I'll grab a 7014 here. It's no different than running 7018s. But just to show you that it can run it, I'll set this around 107. Alright, so I got a 7014 here. Camera won't focus on that, I don't think. But it's just an 1/8 inch 7014. I actually don't even know the brand of these ones. But I'll go ahead, light up one of these things here real quick. As you can see, it does weld it. I'm not the best with these. I actually just started using them yesterday. So it does it. Then they do not run 6010. That's the one thing about these machines is they're not really able to run 6010 very well. So I'm going to run this hot, and we're just going to try it. It's an 1/8 inch 6010. We'll give it a shot here, see what happens. Alright, so as you can see, the arc kept shutting off on me. I'm going to turn it down. We're going to go down to 90, which is where I normally run these, and see what happens. Again, it just shuts off. So I'm going to turn it up to 120 or 132 and just see what happens. Yeah, it doesn't run it. They don't claim to. They actually claim that it does not run this very well. It's nothing wrong with the machine. It's just 6010 requires a lot of concurrent voltage. So if you're like me and you run a lot of 6010, you know, keep in mind that this machine will not work for it. But it will work with 7018, 7014, 6013. Pretty much every rod. I mean, I've run stainless rod on this. I've run hard alloy 140, which is a hard facing rod. I've ran aluminum rod on it. I've ran all sorts of rods on this. It just, for some reason, a lot of these inverters don't like 6010. But it's not a big deal, you know. So that's pretty much the stick side. I don't know what more I can really show you on that. I mean, I ran a few different rods there. So we'll go in here, show you the TIG setup. I'll keep you zoomed out for a second so you can see what that's like. Alright, so we got our TIG torch here. This is the Fronius TIG torch. With Fronius, it's got the hand controls, and this is a lift arc TIG setup. So to set this up for TIG, I mean, you're going to have to grind your tungsten and everything and know how to set up a TIG torch to set this up. Mine's already set up. But pretty much you just unplug your stuff here. I usually keep the ground unplugged until I get the torch set up. It's got one of these fancy little doodad things here. Like I told you, the MIG gun does not have. The TIG torch does have it. I think I usually set this in there first. It's pretty tight. They probably could have made this a little bit less tight to like the whole control box setup. It's kind of a pain to get this in there. I don't know if that's just me or if it's everybody, but I have a hard time getting the TIG torch to connect. Alright, I think that's in there, and this goes in the negative. Alright, so now our TIG torch is in there. Now we can plug your ground back in. That's going to be in the positive. Then we're going to push this button one more time. Now we're in TIG mode. But there's one thing we do got to do, is that's change gases. So I'm going to do that off camera here. Alright, so this is not going to be a TIG welding tutorial, but I'll show you how this machine works. I'm not that great at welding TIG. So we're in TIG mode now. The most amps you can go up to is 230 amps. This is not an AC machine, and there's no high frequency. It's lift arc only. So this will not TIG weld aluminum unless you're running DC electrode positive, but you can't even do that without a scratch start set up and you know, because the gas flows through your negative, so you have to be plugged into the negative to get gas to come out of your Fronius TIG torch. Setting this in DC electrode positive will get you no gas. So in order to get gas in the DC electrode positive, you're pretty much just running a scratch start setup off your stick welder. If you're doing scratch start, you have to be in stick mode. If you are in TIG mode, you will not be able to receive current at your torch unless you have a trigger wired into this little connector thing here. So we're in TIG mode with the Fronius TIG torch plugged into the negative terminal. You don't need the MIG gun plugged in here, but I don't ever take it out. If you were setting this up for just TIG welding and this MIG gun's in your way, then take it out. So you can set your amps here. This is some pretty thick stuff. So I'm going to run, I think, 180 amps. And then that's all you have control over in this menu. But if you hit these again, you have FP. I forget what that means. This other thing, I forget what that means as well. There's a few of them I forget what they mean. But then you have your post flow set for 9 seconds. So after you break arc, the gas will flow for 9 seconds. Tack mode is off. And then, FP, is that your pulse? Yeah, FP is your pulses. I forgot about that. A viewer did tell me this does have pulses. It goes all the way up to 990 pulses a second, and then all the way down to off. So that's how you change your pulse mode, your pulse settings for TIG on this machine. Go into that menu in FP, frequency pulse. So we'll leave it off for now. And then all this other stuff besides the post flow, I forget what it does. So we'll get out of that. Back to our menu, 180. Now I'll zoom you over here. So hopefully you can see my hands when I'm doing this. These are not going to be great TIG welds. We're just going to get it started so you can see that it TIG welds. You'll notice there's 2 buttons on here. I believe this one, when you move it certain ways, it changes your amps on the machine. 1 click equals 1 amp, or you can hold it and it does a bunch of amps at the same time. You can twist this a little bit, and then the rest of it is just like a normal TIG setup. And then the one on your left will start your arc or shut it off. So let's get into this. Dirty plate and everything. Oh man, I had a blowout there. Try that again over here. So I shut that off there. The gas is flowing, weld is cold, now the gas is off. So, again, that's not a how to TIG video. This is just showing you that it TIG welds. I suck at TIG, so let's experiment here. Now that's an actual TIG rod. I have a file here. I'm going to see if I can TIG weld with a file. Oh man, it's actually working. Things are getting weird now. We're getting into the big part of the file. This is getting kind of funny. Oh man, here we go. We're about to hit the raspy part. It's getting all sparkly and stuff. It's actually kind of cool. I've never tried this before. Holy crap. And our plate's still hot, so I'm going to set our gas on again for a little bit. That's about it. Alright, so that was just kind of a funny video there. This is actually a chainsaw file, covered in oil and everything, and that's what I used for filler wire on that last one there. It was actually pretty funny. It was sparking like crazy. Not that one. There. Oops. That's what happens when you weld with a file. That's actually pretty cool. I didn't think that was going to work, but it did. So anyway, that's to show you that you can TIG weld with this machine. It's a lift arc, so there's no foot pedal, which I think is actually really nice if you're welding in some really weird spots. Some people like their foot pedals though, so that's on you. Again, this is not a how to TIG video. That's our TIG weld where we were using actual filler wire. I'm not the best TIG welder. Actually, this whole piece of plate was me practicing TIG welds a little while ago. All butt joints on 3/16 material. It does do thin stuff, but I don't do thin stuff, so that's why you see me welding on thicker material there. Yeah, that's how you TIG weld. Actually, I'm going to set the pulses up. We do our little clicky thing there. Boom, frequency pulse. We're going to set that at around 5.4. So that way you guys can hear this. Alright, so you can hear it now. I'll go ahead and shut her off there. Then I'll change it again. Frequency pulse. We'll go up to 80. See what happens here. So as you can hear, it's definitely running a lot different. And that's because of the pulses. I believe there is a way to change the settings behind the pulses, but I'm not 100% sure on that. For a while, I actually did not even know how to set up the pulses. I didn't think this thing had a pulse TIG mode until the viewer described that it does have pulse TIG. So if somebody knows how to change the, like, what the amps are on the cold setting and on the hot setting of your pulses, let us know, because I kind of want to know too. But yeah, that's how you use your Fronius Transsteel 2200. I hope this helps somebody. It may not be the highest quality video, but hopefully somebody learned something from it. Oh yeah, as a disclaimer, this is the MIG welder that I got as the MIG stick package. You can get the MIG TIG stick package that comes with the TIG torch and a bunch of different settings in the machine. So if you get the TIG package, you may have more settings in there than I do. So yeah, Fume Dog, if you're watching, I would like to get a fume extractor in here, but I can't afford one right now, so I don't know, man. I'd definitely make some videos of it. And I'm sure that ain't good to breathe in. Yeah, don't really know what else to say. So, if it helped you, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I might put out more videos like this soon. Oh, now I remember what I was going to say. So, I'll leave this as the outro. So during the video, you might have seen me stumbling around saying I forget what these different menus do on this thing. So I just want to say that, I've had this welder since the middle of 2020. It is now March of 2024, I think. No, April of 24. And like I said, I don't know what a lot of that stuff in those menus do. But I wanted to say that just because I don't know what they do doesn't mean they're not useful. They some of them might help somebody out there, but the way it comes from the factory, most people don't know what that stuff does, and the machine works just fine. I mean, I've welded thousands of things with it. I've welded a couple dumpsters with it this week, done all that welding. I'm in the middle of welding another dumpster. And like I said, all the menus, it has a lot of fancy stuff, but a lot of it, I don't know what it does. And you know, you don't need it really, honestly. I mean, this thing welds so smooth just right out of the box. Turn it on and you're good to go pretty much. So just because it has a lot of stuff doesn't mean you need to know how to use everything. You know, it would be nice to know about all that fancy stuff, but just because you don't know doesn't mean it's a bad machine, you know. I mean, it does what you need it to do, honestly. And this weld puts down all sorts of welds. Then there's just a bunch of background menus for somebody smarter than me to figure out. You know, I'm just your average welder. Small shop, you know, like most people. Some people have even less than I do. And then this goes on the truck a lot too, so, you know, I am doing a lot of different processes with it. And even with doing different processes, you know, I still don't use half that stuff. So, yeah, don't let it intimidate you. Do not let it intimidate you.